Hey mama, if you're listening to this, you might be carrying a secret that feels too heavy to speak out loud. You look like you got it all together, you serve at church, maybe you even lead a Bible study. You smile when you drop off the kids, but no one sees the other side of you, the one that comes out behind closed doors. At home, you are a completely different person. You yell, you explode, you scream at your kids, sometimes in their face. You tell them to shut up. You grab them too harshly. You throw things across the room. You smack them in anger, twist their ears, spank them in rage, and immediately after, you are hit with a tidal wave of shame. You cry alone in your room and you whisper, "God, what is wrong with me?" You feel scared and disgusted by your own reactions. You're terrified that someone might find out. You wonder if your kids would be better off without you. You feel unworthy, broken, and too far gone to be redeemed. You try to fix this on your own. You listen to podcasts, parenting books, download freebies, but nothing changes. You keep falling back into the same patterns, and it feels like you are stuck in a cycle that you can't break. You don't trust yourself anymore, and if you're honest, you are afraid of who you become. But here's the truth, Mama. You are not beyond hope. You're not alone, and with God's help and the right support, you can change. I'm Elizabeth, a mom of 4 and an anger management coach for Christian moms. And inside my Calm Christian Mom coaching program, I guide women just like you through a powerful transformation. This isn't shallow behavior management. We go deep. We address your triggers, your stress, your mindset, your nervous system, and the spiritual root behind your patterns. We invite God into every layer and walk hand in hand towards healing. In just 12 weeks, you can become a completely different mom, unrecognizable. One who leads with patience, not panic. One whose children feel emotionally safe around her. One who cultivates peace. This summer, I'm offering a Calm Mama strategy session, a powerful 15-minute one-on-one coaching session designed to help you uncover the root of your anger and receive spiritual, emotional, and practical support. It's your chance to experience what coaching is like with me before diving deeper into ongoing support. If we both feel like the full program is the next right step, we can talk about what that looks like for you. You don't have to keep living like this. Your family is worth healing, and so are you. Use the link in the show notes to book the Calm Mama strategy session. Welcome to the podcast. It is end of summer 2025, and I'm going to let you into behind the scenes of my life, what was been going on this summer with me, the kids, how our summer went, some hard things that happened, some emotional things that happened, and I would love for you to join me behind the scenes. So if you are brand new to this podcast, this is not my typical content. I make an episode like that once every few months to just give you a life update, to share with you a little bit what's going on in my life so you get to know me a little bit better and maybe feel a little bit more connected to me. I personally enjoy listening to personal episodes and life updates of content creators and podcasters that I listen on a regular basis. And those are honestly one of my favorite episodes. And so welcome to kind of behind the scenes. Right now, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to share with you like a really great win. So I have a client that started my coaching program this summer, and she has 2 kids and she works part-time, and she's very consistent with her homework and reflection questions and showing up to the coaching calls. And we had a coaching call last week, and I asked her to share a win with me. And she had such a great win that I just asked her, I'm like, can I pull this out and share this on the podcast? Because it's such a wonderful win, and I want you to hear it. So tell me, what was your win with your daughter tonight?
So she was having a meltdown and she knew I had to go on the call. So because she knows there's a time crunch now, she's freaking out more. And she starts, I'm like, we have to brush our teeth and then we have to go read books. And then she's like, I'm gonna run out of time for books. And so I just like sat down on the floor and I was like, you're more important to me than this call. And
Mm.
I'm gonna make sure that you're good before I go. Obviously, I didn't cry, but I always get choked up. I said, I'm gonna just make sure you're good before I go. I'm still gonna do the call. I'll be a little bit late because you're more important to me. And she was like, okay. So that's what helped.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
so sweet.
it was
That
sweet.
is a massive win. That's a
Yeah, it was
massive
huge.
win because
Yeah.
so much our mindset is huge, and time
Mhm.
crunch is one of the things that
Yeah, I
sometimes
was thinking
triggers
about that.
moms, especially when it's like, oh, I want to do something that I want to do, and then you are preventing me from doing it because
Yeah.
here you are throwing a fit and not
Yeah.
cooperating. And so then we feel like our kids that won't let us get on the call. So then we
Right.
get even
Yeah.
more frustrated and short with them, and we want them to hurry up even more. And then they feel it, and then they get more anxious, and
Yeah.
it creates this cycle. And so that is so sweet. What a
It was really
sweet
sweet.
win. Oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I get teary just hearing that.
Seriously, it flipped that
Yeah.
switch for her and she just
Mm.
completely calmed down.
Okay, did you just hear that one? How amazing was that? That was such a wonderful example of moms that are in the coaching container who are showing up and doing the work and seeing positive changes in their life. They see the transformation in them and they see how that influences the way they interact with the kids and how they show up and just the presence that they bring into the home. So, first, I'm going to share with you about the summer. Okay, so for the longest time, I've had a really good morning routine where I would get up before my kids in the morning. I was super consistent. And then I would say, like last year and even throughout earlier this year, I just kind of like slipped out of that. And I was not super consistent. I would get up some days at 5 a.m. before my kids, and then I would get them up at 6:30 for school. But I wasn't super consistent with having my morning routine and just one day I would, one day I wouldn't. I would try to go to sleep around 10:30. I used mindset shifts and journaling prompts, vision writing about getting up in the morning. And, at times it worked and at times it didn't. So I thought, okay, I need to change things up. I need to be consistent, especially with my kids being home with me all day in the summertime. I absolutely need that morning time to myself. I have no excuse not to get up at a reasonable time. My kids are sleeping in till 7:30. I can get up between 5 and 6 a.m. and have that time to myself before my family gets up because I'm an introvert and highly sensitive person. I absolutely need quiet time and alone time every single day to function at my best, to show up as the best mom for my kids. And here's what I did. I've like kept track. I had like a tracker, a calendar where I would write down the times I got up, the times I went to bed. But you know what worked the best for me? Something that truly worked, and it worked very instantly. And that was negative consequences. And I thought of this idea. I told my kids that every morning I do not get up at 5 a.m. for three of my boys. So my daughter is a little, but she's 4. I guess I could have included her, but for 3 of my boys, that I will pay them $5 each. So then if I don't get up at 5 a.m., and they need to ask me every morning if I get up at 5 a.m., and if I did not, I would need to pay them $5 each. Now, 15 bucks may not seem like a big deal to you, but for me, it adds up. And if I keep sleeping in, $15 here, $15 there, it adds up. We do pay our kids for certain chores, not all of them, but we pay them like 50 cents, maybe a dollar. It's not a ton of money. And so this would like add up pretty quickly. And I am driven by saving money and by not spending money on, silly things. And, anyways, that was the thing that I needed. When I woke up in the morning, my first thought is like, I don't want to pay my kids $15. I'm going to get up today because I was training my mind to say I am rested and restored and I have energy for this day. Like to be my first thought. I got the perfect amount of sleep to be rested and energized. And I mean, it works at some level, but tell you what, the negative consequences for me personally worked amazing. I just had a strategy call with a mama last night, and she's got 5 kids. And we talked about how she needs to get up before her kids in the morning. And I told her that these negative consequences, she could try this out and see if it works for her, because sometimes it's the negative that we want to avoid. So we will do what needs to be done to show up for that habit without slacking off. So that is exactly what I needed. So I just wanted to share that with you. Maybe that will work for you, maybe not. So when I was planning out the summer at 2025 with my kids, I kind of created like a vision in my head for it to be more laid back, more relaxing, more free time, do play dates, take my kids fishing. My boys are really into fishing, cook with my kids. And the reality was slightly different. This summer got so busy for me with work. It just got so busy. I got multiple new clients. I had 10 clients at the same time, which I've never had in the past. Usually it's like 5 to 7, but all of a sudden I had 10 clients that I needed to manage and had the individual coaching calls with them. And then I had strategy calls that people were booking, because in the summertime I was offering like one-off strategy calls. And then I had like follow-up calls mid-program with some of my clients, or it was just a lot. And on top of that, I had my kids with me all day. My oldest is 13, my youngest is 4. And so my kids were home with me all the time. And so I needed to carve out those times for those coaching calls. And I was still producing 1 episode a week on my podcast in June. And so it just got to a point where I told myself, I quickly realized like I needed to let go of something. And so I let go of the podcast and took a break from emailing and podcasting, just so then I had more capacity for other things. I ended up working about 15-ish hours a week, some evenings. Sometimes would go to a coffee shop and work. Sometimes on the weekends I would go work. And then during the day when my kids were home with me, the screen time that they got was when I would be on a call, because that is the thing that I have found. It could be different for your kids. I can get my kids occupied screen free for a little while, but to make sure my kids will not walk in on a coaching call, screens is kind of like the bulletproof thing that I can count on. And so they would need to read an hour in the morning before I had a call. They would read for an hour, and then they would be able to get that screen time while I was on the coaching calls. And so, but I'll tell you, it was challenging to work and to stay home with the kids. It was something that I felt very stretched in and challenged, and trying to find that balance between being present and available for my kids and then being there for my clients. I'll be honest, it was a little tricky. And so I needed to get up early before my kids in the mornings. I would go on an early morning walk, check in with my clients, respond to messages. I have a membership for moms that did finish my coaching program that I launched this summer, and they still want ongoing support. So it's a much lower cost for them, but I have moms in there. So I have like a daily check-in there with them where I do send them like a short recording up to 5 minutes, something to, ponder on or think on or reflect on or journal on. And so that is something that I was doing consistently. And so there was a lot to manage. And then on top of that, I wanted to be present with my kids, take them to the library, take them fishing. My boys really like fishing. And so I really made it a point to take them a couple times a week fishing. We have some friends that have they have a small lake in their backyard. And thankfully there's no alligators there because, alligators in Florida. And so we would go over there for the kids to go and do some fishing. And so, yeah, that was kind of like our summer time. Let's see here. In Florida, summers, so we live in Northeast Florida, and summers are really hot. So, unless you're at the pool or at the beach or at the lake, it really is really humid and it's not really pleasant to be outside. And so, that's why I would take my kids fishing, and then we could also swim in that lake. And then I would plan some pool dates with some friends, but I needed to balance between because I had some days that I need to stay home and work. And so we would have about a couple days a week where we would get out of the house, and then the rest of the days we would stay home. In July, like I mentioned, I took the whole month off. I didn't do much work besides just keeping up with the clients I already had. And it was just, we were also traveling to Minnesota I was gone for 2 weeks with my kids, and then my husband joined us a weekend and then flew back with us. But that would been too much to try to keep up with everything. Even if you like pre-record and schedule things out with like emails and podcast episodes, it was just hard to do all of that in the summertime with all the kids at home. So for 2 weeks, I went to Minnesota. I traveled with the kids alone over there. It wasn't that challenging because my oldest is 13, super responsible. I can really like count on him. He will like follow through, show up. And even the 10-year-old is pretty good. The 8-year-old needs some guidance. It was more like having the toddler. And you know what? I thought, last year was really tricky traveling with a toddler. I thought, okay, she's 4 years old. If I let them just watch a movie on the plane, because it was Delta, and Delta has, they have screens that the kids can watch on the plane. So I thought, okay, if I let her watch something, she might, handle the 3-hour flight and be, pretty chill. Well, and I thought maybe I could read a book. Well, it did not go as chill as I thought it would. There was no meltdowns, there was no screaming, but there was constant pauses when I was trying to read the book. She wanted to sit by the window. Then she wanted to sit next to me. Then she needed to pee. Then she needed to poop as soon as we got on the plane. And she's like, I need to pee. I'm going to poop my pants. And it's like loud as the plane is taking off. And it's like, honey, I know you can wait, and we're going to need to wait a little while until it's safe. Then she wanted a snack. Then she wanted to take her shoes off. Then she wanted a blanket. Then she doesn't like the show or the movie that she was watching. Then she wants a different snack. Then she wants water. Then she was tired and wanted to lay down. It was just like all those things. I thought maybe I could, read the book. And it took me so many pauses to get through a chapter just because the toddler just needed me every 2 minutes. It just seemed like, but you know what? I quickly had to adjust my expectations that I created in my head that, I thought I was going to be able to read uninterrupted, but I needed to adjust my expectations to what the reality actually was. Because yes, I was probably trying to do everything in my power to get her settled and, watch a show, some cartoons, but she was just it was hard. It's hard for a toddler to sit still and to focus. And at least for my kids, it is. When we got to Minnesota, we stayed with my parents' house and spent the first week there. I had play dates, coffee, lunch dates with some friends. My boys went to kids camp, and then my oldest one went to youth camp or teenage camp. So it was really good. The days were really full. We had things packed, and in between, I just stayed home and spent time with my parents and had dinners and breakfasts with them. My mom took some time off of work so we could connect and spend time together. And I have a really, really great relationship with my mom. And so that was really wonderful. My hubs flew in a week in. And so we ended up then going and staying at his parents' house for the second week. And we spent time with the family at the pool. One of his brothers has a house with a pool. We went boating on a lake with his other brother and just hanging out with his parents and family. And so that was really wonderful. There was a very unexpected tragedy that happened with our family in Minnesota while we were there. We have a really big Facebook group chat and Messenger of all my cousins on my dad's side of the family, which is we have like 30 plus cousins and then their spouses. So there's like a massive group chat. And my oldest cousin, who's 40 years old, he messaged on there and he said, please pray for my wife. She's being transferred from one hospital to another. She has some sort of brain bleed and it's not looking good. And so obviously we were all praying for that. And then what happened was that her brain bleed was very unexpected, like a blood vessel burst, and it bled right there, like in that frontal lobe, between the two lobes in the front, in a really hard place. And the surgeons, they drained it, but she was brain dead, and there was nothing that could have been done. And it was confirmed by multiple brain surgeons that she was brain dead. And a few days later, they needed to take her off the coma and just unplug off of life support. And it was just so tragic. She was 40 years old, and her husband were married for like 18 years. They have two girls, 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, and it was just so devastating. It was so unexpected, such a like massive hit, and it just really made me think about myself and about my life and about motherhood and the impact that I'm leaving, and even think about like, what will people say when I pass away on my funeral? Because, people say positive things on funerals. Are people going to have a hard time coming up with positive things to say on my funeral? What would my husband say about me? What would my kids say about me? How will I be known as and remembered as? What are some memories that my kids would share about me at my funeral? Do I show up towards my family in the way that I want to show up? Am I being the mom that I want to be? Am I being the wife that God is calling me to be in the season? Am I going to have like regrets that when let's say I do pass away at 40, which I hope I don't, but will I have regrets in the way that I lived my life? And that was just a really like thought that just kept coming to me because this woman that, my husband's cousin, my cousin's wife, she did not think she was going to die at 40. Nobody does. Nobody thinks, oh, I'm just going to die at 40. It was so unexpected. And there were so many great, sweet things that people were talking about her and sharing her on her funeral. And I just remember another family member passed away not too long ago, also in the, several years. And that family member, like, people had a really hard time coming up with positive things to share at the lunch post. I don't know about the funerals that you ladies attend, but in the Russian culture, there's a service. And actually, because there were so many people that came to the funeral, it wasn't even at the funeral home. It was at the church because there were so many people that came to the funeral, and then the burial. And then they have like a lunch after that where people share good memories about, the person that passed away. And this other family member that passed away several years ago, people had a really hard time coming up with positive things to say about her. And, like the memories that she left and just sharing like positive things about her. She was not a really easy person to get along with. And so I just thought, I'm like, I wonder, what are people going to say about me when I pass away? I just know for my mom, I have such a good relationship with her, such a close relationship. My mom is so loving, so intentional, such a godly woman that has left such a big mark on my life. And I know that when she passes away, there's going to be so many positive things, like endless positive things. She made such a big impact in this church ministry. She made such a big impact on my life, her kids, her daughter-in-laws, her sons-in-law. She is such an amazing woman that there will be endless positive things to say about her. People, like, you don't have to think hard to come up with positive things about my mom. And I wonder if when I pass away, if others will be able to say positive things about me. Because for me, it's important, not what necessarily other people think, but the relationships and the impact that I left on my family. Because when everything is said and done, what really matters when you pass away is your relationship with God, right? Your personal relationship with the Lord and your relationships with your family members. Will your kids miss you? Will your husband miss you? And what kind of relationships did you build with your family that they would feel sad that you are gone? And here's the truth. Even though you might feel like you're failing as a mom, oftentimes, and you feel like you're messing up as a lot, you are the most impactful person in your children's life. You matter the most to them. You do. And your relationships with them really do matter. They really do. And I want to ask you, 5 years from today, if nothing changes with the way that you show up as a mom, what are things going to look like between you and your husband, you and your kids? Is that a vision that you want for your life? Is that the kind of mom you want to be and to be remembered and known as? Or are you in a place to make some changes? Because if the way that you're showing up right now is not aligned with who God is calling you to be, it's not the mom that you're proud of, and you're filled with shame and remorse because of the way that you treat your kids and your husband, I want to let you know there is hope for transformation. If you tried stuff on your own and it has not helped, I have a step-by-step process for you, how to break free from destructive, damaging anger patterns, the poor attitude, the negativity, the resentment, the bitterness, the anger, and transform into being the mom and the wife God is calling you to be loving, kind, understanding, compassionate, joyful, peaceful, lighthearted. To like, if you want to be remembered as that, there's a step-by-step process for you to get there, and I can help you. You can try to do stuff on your own, and if that works for you, awesome, great. And if you've been listening to my podcast for a while and you've taken so much, nuggets out of here and you were able to implement on your own, I am so thrilled for you. That's why that's why this show exists. And I know there's some of you that are listening to this podcast and you think like, I've tried stuff on my own and I just need someone to hold my hand, to show me what the next step is, to keep me accountable, to check in with me, to guide me, to mentor me. That is who my 12-week coaching program is for. The results are guaranteed. You either show up and you get the results, or at week 12, I will give you a full refund, and we signed a contract on that. Okay, so I wanted to move back to, the behind the scenes. After we got back from the trip, on the way back, my husband and I were all flying together with the kids. Thankfully, he had the toddler sitting next to him. And I was kind of like in a fog. It was the week from like my PMS week, and it was a hard transition to get back home. The kids transitioning was hard for them. I was kind of like grieving and thinking of the loss of my cousin's wife and just had all those feelings inside of me. I had low energy and I was just feeling down. And I had some really hard moments with the kids where I needed to apologize, and because I did not show up as the mom that I wanted to be. And I just want to give you permission to say, I just want to give you some encouragement that I'm not perfect. Yes, I'm intentionally working on myself. Majority of the time, my actions and my choices do align with who God is calling me to be. But I'm also a sinner, and I do make mistakes, and I do mess up. And some days are just really hard. And being able to give myself grace and empathy and compassion and asking myself, like, I wonder what's going on, what's contributing to all of that, instead of beating myself up, was really, really helpful. All right, so as we wrap up and finish up, my kids started school this week, August 11th. I felt a little bit sad that my youngest started preschool and now she will be in school Monday through Friday for half days. Part of me is like super excited for this time for me to get stuff done, to have some alone time, to focus on work. And because I'm an introvert and highly sensitive person, I need that alone time. But part of me feels really sad. And the reason is because there's a closure to this season of little ones at home with me. we don't plan to have any more kids. So it feels like really sad for me knowing that this is my last baby that's going to school for the first time, feeling like I'm getting old. In 4 years, I will be 40, which is like crazy to think. Because when I was like 17 and you hear somebody's 40, you're like, oh my goodness, they're so old. But in 4 years, I will be 40. And it's just like this season is wrapping up of my littles being at home. The diaper season, we're out of diapers completely. She doesn't nap anymore. It's like this season is closing and I'm moving on to the next season in my life with my kids being in school, all of them. And there's positive and there's also like part of me just feels really, really sad that, oh my gosh, like my baby she has a uniform and she goes to school. She's got this big backpack and these pigtails and it's so adorable and so sweet. But part of me is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss her. She's like my little sidekick with me all day long, all the time. And yes, some moments were super hard, but I will definitely I'm so grateful. It's so sweet to have her with me through these years because I started my podcast when I got pregnant with her and I started my podcast. So she's been with me this whole time. This whole time I've had this show and this business, she's been with me through it all. So it is just a bittersweet moment for me. All right. So just to wrap things up about the summertime, it was a full summer for us. Work was really full and the workload was a lot. But I still got to spend a lot of time with my kids and I enjoyed visiting family in Minnesota. And it's a bittersweet moment for me to send my toddler off to school. And I wanted to invite you to book a consultation call. It's a free call with me. If you are ready to make some changes in your life, if you're in a place where you're like, I am so sick and tired of being an angry mom who screams and yells at her kids. I'm so sick and tired of feeling so much guilt and shame at the end of every night and be filled with remorse. And I am ready to do whatever it takes. If you're like 12 out of 10 ready to make changes in your life, I want to encourage you to book a free consultation call. The link is in the show notes. It's completely free. This is a call for the mama who's ready to make some changes. I want to walk alongside you. I want to pray over you. I want to hold your hand. I do have 5 spots open right now because I had multiple graduates this summer. 5 spots opened up. And one of them is for you to join the Calm Christian Mom Coaching Program. If this is something that you want, the details are in the show notes. There's a link for you to click on Calm Christian Mom. It explains all the details about the coaching program, the price, investment, all of it, and what's included and the process. And then again, when we get on the call, I ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better. And then if I feel like my program is the next best step for you, I will go into detail telling you about the coaching program, and then you get to decide if you want to invest and move forward in this coaching program. My friend, thank you so much for showing up, for listening to this podcast, for taking the time out of your day to listen to my podcast. Out of all the podcasts that are out there, I'm so grateful for you. The next episode, I'm going to get back into the regular episodes that serve you well, give you some practical, tangible things that you can implement, some mindset shifts, some spiritual encouragement to help you become calmer, peaceful, and be the patient mom that God is calling you to be. Hey mama, do you find yourself snapping over the smallest things, like spilled milk or constant whining, then feeling horrible afterwards? If you're tired of losing your temper and you want to show up with more patience, I have something for you. It's a free training called How to Be More Patient with Your Kids so you're not screaming over spilled milk. Inside, I'll walk you through 10 simple things you can start doing today to become a calmer, more Christ-like mom, even on the hard days. To get it for free, just leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and send a screenshot to hello@emotionallyhealthylegacy.com. Or if you'd rather skip the wait, you can grab it right now for just $27. The link is in the show notes. Let's help you become the peaceful, patient mom your kids need.